May is almost here, and the officially unofficial start to the barbecue season. Memorial Day is just around the corner, but there's plenty of barbecue festival fun to be had long before that, especially in Nash County, North Carolina. That's where you'll find Goat Fest, a barbecue and chili cook-off designed to raise funds for charity, another barbecue for a cause event. And today we've got the Goat Fest founder, none other than the kitchen goat himself, Jason Knapp, as well as a returning People's Choice Barbecue Champion of Goat Fest, Chris Loschiavo from Blue Suede BBQ. Gentlemen, welcome to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Well, thank you for having us.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to find out more about Goat Fest. First, a quick reminder for our first-time listeners and anybody who's returning, please visit our website, lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you're going to find interviews with pitmasters from all across the Carolinas. We've got blogs with recipes and restaurant details and reviews. Also, check us out on Instagram at Low and Slow Barbecue Show. That's where you'll see lots of pics and videos from the Carolina Barbecue Fest, some of my own cooking, other pitmasters activities, all that on Instagram. And of course, if you subscribe to our newsletter, The Lowdown, we'll send the latest Carolina barbecue news and events to your email inbox on Tuesday morning, just before the dawn. And of course, we always include a calendar of upcoming food truck stops and competitions, festivals as well, just like Goat Fest. And we're going to talk about Goat Fest coming up May 2nd and 3rd. And again, that's in Nash County in the Nashville area. That's out near Rocky Mountain, if you didn't know. And we're also going to get an update from Blue Suede BBQ. But first, let's meet Jason Knapp, the kitchen goat. Jason, tell us who you are and a little bit about your backstory into becoming the kitchen goat.
Well, I'm Jason Knapp. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I've lived down here for 23 years. I'm a medically retired social studies teacher. And honestly, COVID for a lot of people, a lot of people got wrecked off this. And for me, it really threw us in. So the crazy thing about all this stuff, I've always liked to cook. In fact, when I was in high school, I worked in a diner and we roasted chicken. But my biggest thing with cooking was I like to be in the kitchen and everybody else is having the party. It's as crazy as that sounds. I don't like to crave attention, but I always found the kitchen to be very therapeutic and soothing, because it's like if something's going on crazy wise, when I was teaching, I can control what's going on in the kitchen. So COVID hit, and my wife and I don't have any kids, so we would always go out to eat, and all of a sudden all the restaurants are closed, and I'm like, well, crap, I got to learn how to cook. So my wife says, well, we got to do all this stuff. I've got a huge walk-in pantry that's always full of stuff. So we had to empty out the freezers and the pantries and whatever. And I just start throwing stuff together. And one of my buddies goes, hey, you should, record a video, Julia Childs. And my sister's actually a trained chef. The only thing she ever taught me to cook was French onion soup. Well, I made the French onion soup deal, and I got 50 views on it. I thought I was a rock star, and I said, all right, that's cool, I'm done. And then what's next? And at that time, I was reaching like 65,000 people a month. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And we called it Cooking a la Quarantine because, it was something stupid. And then when COVID lifted, I felt I needed to change it, and we raised goats. And I said, well, how about Kitchen Goat? My wife said, that's the stupidest name for anything. It'll never stick. And there we are.
And somehow it's managed to stick. So that's an interesting backstory. But then now seems like you moved into food-centric events that are kind of supporting charity. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how you decided to go down that path.
All right, so I have hemochromatosis. It's a genetic disorder where my body retains iron. And what do? They bleed me out every 6 months, take a cord out, throw it away, and that's it. I have to go to an oncology office. It is not a cancer. It's just somehow they're all oncology and hematology are related. So I was sitting here getting bled, getting an oil change, as my wife calls it, and woman across from me, little old lady, reminded me of my grandmother, told her granddaughter, I don't know if I'm going to go to Dollar General to get groceries or if I'm going to pay my copay. And I'm not the richest guy in the world, but I left, I put $50 down, and I pointed to the secretary. I said, that's for that lady's copay. So that's where it all started. What we do is we have events where we raise money to buy grocery gift cards for cancer patients in 5 surrounding counties. It's Nash, Wilson, Halifax, Northampton, Franklin, Moore, Edgecombe, and Nash. And to give you guys the warm fuzzies, Stacy did the books the other day, and we have distributed $47,750 in Food Lion gift cards to cancer patients over the last 3 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. So and how did that become Goat Fest? Tell us about Goat Fest. What is that, and how and when did you get started with that?
All right. So this will be year number 3 for Goat Fest.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get my dates right. So right after COVID breaking, I think 20. Let me see here. 20. Okay, we started in 23. So it would have been September of 22. We went to a barbecue contest and chili cook-off in Bracy, Virginia. And this was at a butcher shop, and it was no bigger than a parking lot at a store. And they raised $26,000. Wow. And my wife goes, we could do that at the farm. I'm like, wait a minute. So we can throw a party, write it off, and have fun and raise money to buy grocery gift cards or whatever at the time. I don't think we figured it out. She's like, yeah. And Chris will tell you, I may be the loud one, but my wife is the balance. She's very reserved.
Yeah, you're right.
And for her to say, let's throw a party and invite a bunch of strangers to our farm, I'm like, all right. So the first year, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, the thing is with preparation, teaching middle school and high school, I thrive on chaos and preparation. So we, overthought everything. First year we had 11 contestants, and then we raised like $5,000, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. And of course, the beer guy was like, you got to lock in for year 2, like right now. And I'm like, Russ, I still have crap in my yard from Goat Fest. This is like Tuesday. He's like, no, man, you don't understand. So anyway, Goat Fest number 2 came out last year, and that's where I actually met up with Chris there. And and last year we raised like $15,000, and we had what did we have, Chris? 14 teams, I think.
Yeah, something like that, 12, 14, something like that.
12, something like anyway. And this year, we're sanctioned by the Southern BBQ Network. Chris and I actually went to a judging certification. My wife did as well. And we got done with the certification, and I'm like, do you think we can get Goat Fest to be sanctioned event? And we filled out all the paperwork, wrote the check. I literally handed it in on Sunday morning when we were rolling out of Somerville, and they said, "Yeah, we are the East North Carolina event for the Southern BBQ Network."
Yeah. And so what goal are y'all trying to hit today in terms of raising funds for this year's event?
I mean, this might sound a little lofty, but I'm shooting for 30-40,000.
Wow. Yeah,
Um,
that's
Why not?
I
yeah.
mean, and the other thing too is if we raise $10,000 for this specific thing, I'll get a haircut. I haven't really gotten a haircut since 2020. Um,
Yeah. Well, so
so
that's a great goal. Obviously going towards a great cause. Tell me a little bit about what people can expect if we come out for Goat Fest.
Well, there's live music by Tony Jones. He does everything from 70s to today. A very eclectic gentleman. He's got a full band. There's going to be games for kids. There's face painting, cornhole. There's going to be, of course, the barbecue contest. We're going to have alcohol sales. Yeah, and there will be a bunch of baby goats because we just had a bunch of baby goats born. And I mean, and I want people to, it is a community event. So I've got like Nash County Sheriff's Office is putting up a booth. The Sheriff's Association Special Olympics is putting up a booth. We've got a bunch of vendors coming out. Um, it really is a community event, and the way I explain it to people is cancer does not discriminate or um, specialize in one group.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm helping out kids, I'm helping out adults, I'm helping out elderly, everybody, and it really is going to be a lot of fun. And this guy over here was the People's Choice,
Yeah, and that's a great
and
Yep.
segue to this guy over here from Blue Suede BBQ. And as you said, the People's Choice champion from last year. And we've been so excited to have Chris on the show before to remind everybody he was with the 82nd Airborne Division stationed down east down there. But Chris, things have been happening, moving and shaking up to this very minute. Why don't you
Yeah.
give everybody an idea? Just remind folks who you are and how you got started with Blue Suede BBQ, and then maybe give us an update to what you got going on.
Yeah, thanks, Sugar. I appreciate it. So, I just want to mention that I am on this podcast today from the legendary Rendezvous, Charlie Virgo's Rendezvous in
Oh,
Memphis.
wow. Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know if you can see it behind me right there.
Yep.
This is
oh yeah,
this
wow,
this it's really fortuitous timing, and I'll explain why in a minute. But this is the place for me, being a Memphian and being from Memphis. This particular place was the spot where that started me on this road, right? So
Uh-huh.
it's really special to me to be here and do this podcast with you from here, and just kind of lucked into it. But yeah, so I'm actually still active duty. Don't let the facial hair fool you, and hopefully no sergeant major is watching this right now. But I retire. I retire in about 80 days at the end of June, and so going full tilt into the barbecue trailer thing. That's actually why I'm here today. I flew out of Raleigh yesterday to Nashville, North Carolina, or excuse me, Tennessee, the original
yeah,
Nashville for me, but
yeah.
flew there to buy a truck so that I could then drive to Dallas today to pick up the the barbecue trailer that I'm buying, and drive it back to North Carolina. So it's game on. But I got started. I mean, again, places like this, places like the Rendezvous, Corky's Barbecue, Central Barbecue in Memphis, and I mean, we don't have enough time in the day to go on about the barbecue places here, but I love it, and I love serving people. I think it's one of my gifts, one of my gifts from the Lord, and I just want to do it. I fell in love with it after my second deployment to Afghanistan, and I came home and bought a smoker, and it started with pork ribs because that's what we do in Memphis, right? That's what we're known for.
Right.
And started from there, and it has just progressed. And man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like cooking for folks and serving them and them loving what you're putting on the plate.
Yeah, very cool. So maybe tell us a little bit about. I've seen you out in the world. I know you're going to some competitions. Jason mentioned your Southern BBQ Network certification. So how has the business kind of evolved since the last time that we talked to you?
Yeah, so last time we talked, I had just done the Carolina Barbecue Fest in Charlotte,
Right.
and I had just done Goat Fest, and then and then another local festival in Aberdeen where I live, at the Malcolm Blue Farm, and I'll be doing all those again this year to include, you saw me at Barbecue Fest last weekend, but
Yep.
so it is just as I've gotten to the point where I have more time on my hands and I'm progressing, right? I'm able to do more and to get things going. And so yeah, last year was really kind of the intro, get my feet wet, try to test the waters, right? Is my food really as good as I think it is and as good as family and friends say it is? But they're family and friends, so are they being truthful? And so Goat Fest last year was actually my first time cooking like for the general public like that, and it was the first time that I was using the smoker that I had built over the winter. So I
Right.
hand built my offset smoker, and I hadn't even used it before because I just finished it just in time for Goat Fest, and so I was able to do like a couple of burns on it, to season it, but I hadn't cooked on it yet. And so I went out to Goat Fest, and we were doing pulled pork, right? Yeah, pulled pork.
Yeah. Pulled pork.
And it being, the heart of East Carolina, I was the only pitmaster not doing East Carolina vinegar pulled pork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did my Memphis style, and I said, hey, look, I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's good. And if you like it, you like it. And I hope you do. And so I was really, really pleased to come out with People's Choice. I think it was by 1 vote or 2 votes. So that guy that I bribed to put in 3 votes for me, I guess it worked.
Yeah.
But that was really special to me because it's a small thing, but I know how passionate barbecue folks are, right? Because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And I know how passionate people get about their specific style and region and flavors. And for a Memphis kid to go into the heart of East Carolina, serve Memphis style barbecue, and come out as People's Choice was really, really special to me, and kind of helped confirm that, hey, maybe you're not completely off base here. Maybe you know a little bit about what you're doing.
Apart from, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
If I may interject, so funny thing about Chris's ribs. So I don't know if you remember this quite so well, but what were we doing? Talking about ribs or something? And I literally.
No. So I knew we were doing pulled pork, and Jason was providing, the pork butts, but you know how it is. You're cooking, you're going to get hungry, and cooking pork butts is a long process. So like I'm gonna bring a couple racks of ribs for me to just throw in there and eat, and my family to eat. And so I did that. I just did my normal ribs, and I was like, I'm gonna go give one of these to Jason, just to see what he thinks. Get an outsider's perspective. And I went up to him, and he happened to be standing next to the guy that was the head judge. And so we hadn't turned anything in yet, but he was the head judge. And so I came over and said, hey, Jason, I threw some ribs on for the family, but I want to let you try one. And I forget the gentleman's name. He was really nice,
Kevin.
but the head judge, Kevin, yeah. And I said,
Yeah.
Sorry, sir, I don't want to influence you, so I don't have one for you. And he's like, well, I'll just take his. And he grabbed Jason's rib, and Jason, you can tell him what he said after he bit into it.
He said, "Oh my God, that's the best rib I've ever had."
Whoa.
And
yeah. He said he was like he sat down in his chair like this, and he just looked at me, and he said, brother, I've been a KCBS judge for 8 years, and that's probably the best rib I've ever had. And I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie to you. I had my sunglasses on, and I'm glad I did because a little tear came down.
Yeah,
Not
that's
gonna
high
lie.
praise.
and
Yeah.
and so I'm like, I grabbed a rack of, I think they were baby backs out of my front uh, freezer because I live out in the country. Yeah, of course I have an old fridge on my front porch, and my dad is a man of very few words, but they came down for Goat Fest, and when Chris got done with the ribs, my dad sat there. And my dad had been all over the world. And he's like, these are the best ribs ever. In fact, every time I talk to Chris or I tell dad that I talked to Chris, he's like, tell him to make ribs, tell him to make ribs, and I mean, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that's high praises. That's definitely cool stuff. So, Chris, I know that you've gotten involved with the Southern BBQ Network, and we're so excited to have them as a sponsor of our podcast here and promote the events like Goat Fest. Goat Fest. Maybe talk a little bit about how your experience with the network has been, and as becoming a judge or getting certified as a judge.
Yeah, thanks. So, admittedly, my experience to date has been minimal comparatively speaking, maybe to some other folks. But again, I'm getting, just kind of getting into the game here. But I attended, like Jason said, we attended the judging course down in Summerville, South Carolina, back in I think early January, and it was a great course, well run. They had food for us, so I mean that's always a win. And it was good to see and to learn kind of what judges are taught to look for and taught to think about and taught to consider, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
as I think we all know, competition barbecue and backyard barbecue or restaurant barbecue are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so the folks so far that I've met and dealt with have all been great. I interacted with them some more down in Doco Rib Fest in South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina a couple months ago or a month ago, whatever it was, and talked to them about potentially coming in and judging a Veterans Day charity barbecue competition. Not to steal Jason's idea, but I'm going to. So I
Oh,
want to
he's,
start a I want
yeah,
to start a Veterans Day charity barbecue competition where I live in Aberdeen, North Carolina. Hopefully this year. That's the goal, is to start this year, either on Veterans Day or that weekend. And so SBN has been good about reaching out and saying, hey, whatever you need to help, we're here to help.
right.
So it's been good so far.
Yeah, well, that's exciting news. We'll definitely keep our eyes peeled for November and help you promote that as much as we can. Just keep us in the loop, and we'll definitely be glad to share that story. Maybe get you back on and talk about it again. Again, I know you're still in the active duty, spending more time in the barbecue. But before we get ready to wrap up here, I want to know what keeps your personal fire burning to do all this stuff, Chris. I mean, to fly over to Nashville, get a truck, drive to Dallas, and then drive all the way back to Aberdeen. That alone is a lot. Not to mention, I saw you at the Carolina Barbecue Festival, setting your stuff up for your vendor and selling your wares. You got great sauces and rubs and all your paraphernalia. What keeps that fire burning for you?
Yeah, man, people do. That's really it. I lucked into, I don't, it's not luck. You make your own luck, right? By preparation and execution. And so I happened to meet some corporate folks from Food Lion at one of my local Food Lions in Aberdeen a few weeks ago. And I was buying some meat for a chili competition I was doing the next day, and I'm wearing, branded stuff. That's pretty much all I wear nowadays, to get the
Smart.
name out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that and my Live Like Lou foundation, that's pretty much all that I wear is this stuff. But so I said, the corporate folks were standing right in front of the meat, and I was like, man, should I say something? Like, I don't know what to say, because I've got my sauces, and my rubs, and I'd love to get it in the stores. And I was like, yeah, what's the worst they can say? They can say, get out of here, kid, whatever. Not
Right.
kid, I
Yeah.
guess I'm not a kid, but anyway, so I just approached them and started talking to them, and 30 seconds in, they're grabbing the corporate dry goods guy. I forget what his exact title is, so I apologize if you're listening to this, Glenn. But he comes in and we start talking, and he's like, "Yep, give me your contact info. We'd love to get more local people into our stores. How many stores can you support? That kind of thing." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
I said, hold on, I don't know yet. I'm working with Carolina Co-Packing Company to produce 2 of the sauces right now, as well as my Memphis rub. So hopefully we get those into the stores. And then Ace Hardware in Southern Pines, North Carolina, the largest Ace in the state, is also interested in putting my stuff in there. So it's not the money that motivates me. I really could care less. And it's the people, whether the people you meet or the people you feed, or guys like you that are just shared interests. Man, I love it, and it's what makes my world go round, other than my family.
Yeah, well, hey, Jason, I'm going to kind of take at the risk of getting the same answer from you. I'm going to kind of put it in your direction. You started out as a chef in the time of pandemic. Now you've started this charity opportunity, and you're doing good things and creating a festival. And again, I know it's got to be a lot of work. What keeps you doing it?
Well, my wife, my support group, Chris has really helped me out. The fact that people with cancer, they don't, a lot of people, they don't ask for help or whatever. And Chris will tell you, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And, if 46-year-old me would talk to 25-year-old me, 25-year-old me would say, "You're full of crap," and 46-year-old me would say, "That was Wednesday. Wait till you hear about Thursday."
Yeah.
And but it's about people. It's about giving people a good feel. And the whole thing is, especially in the realm of what I deal with cancer patients and things like that, giving people a good feel and the relief of, hey, look, it's not much, but you don't have to worry about whether your lights are off or not, or if you're going to have something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we live in the United States, which is the greatest country in the world, as far as I'm concerned, being a former social studies teacher. But I will tell you, it is an absolute atrocity if somebody has to sit there and pick, do I pay my medical or do I buy something to cook or eat or whatever? And so I'm not fixing a problem, but I'm giving somebody a little help, and that's really all it is.
There it is, the final word from Jason Knapp, founder of Goat Fest and one of those competition cookers, and a friend of the show, Chris Loschiavo from Blue Suede BBQ. Guys, thanks so much for joining the podcast today.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Thank you
for having me again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast stream. Also, share our podcast with your friends. That's the best way to get it to other people. Just share it. And of course, visit us at lowslowbbqshow.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. We'll send you all the latest news and events like Chris's upcoming Veterans Day charity event. And, hey, we've got a YouTube channel as well, so you'll see video from the barbecue festival and all of our podcast interviews there. Thanks to our production team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Hey, thank you, Andrew Moose, for making sure we sound great every week. And thanks again to our guests, the Kitchen Goat, Jason Knapp, and Chris Loschiavo from Blue Suede BBQ. Most especially, thank you for listening. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.